So we're up to day 40 of going through my old journal. The quote for today says, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." Do you have any fears you haven't faced? If so, what are they? How do they limit you? And what are you doing to help overcome being fearful? I think I probably know what I wrote about here, but if you're following along, just take a minute to think about how you would respond to this. And let's see what I wrote. Okay. I would say my biggest fear is probably being tied down. I hate feeling tied down in any way. I want to be free to do whatever I want at the drop of the hat without being held back. That's the main reason I'm afraid to get too serious in relationships. I think it's also why I haven't fully settled on a career. I also think part of the reason I became so stressed in 2020, 2021 was because I felt a burden of having to take care of my house and property. So yeah, I've talked about this a couple times. My grandparents passed away and they left their property to me and my sister, and I was living in a different town and going to school. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I was able to, everything went to like work from home, work remotely. And so I decided to move into this house. And then I just, I felt all this stress of like, okay, I've got to keep the grass cut and I've got to, you do kind of feel that, or I did kind of felt that stress of like trying to like not keep up with the Joneses by any means. Thankfully, I live in a rural area. But yeah, there was like just all this stress of like trying to do what I was supposed to do, being like a homeowner or whatever. And like now that's just completely like died off. I'm just like, I don't stress about like if my grass is getting too long or anything like that. And like, yeah, sometimes you live in a neighborhood or a city where you have to like worry about that, but it was just a lot to take on. I was like always worried. I'm like, I need a new roof on this place and this and that. And then everything that was going on in 2020, there was like a lot of stress, and I did feel tied down. I'm like, okay, when I live in an apartment, I can just get up and move, and just go somewhere else. And that was kind of like how my life was. I didn't have that many possessions because I had moved so many times to do like different jobs and study different places. And so like I'd gotten to where I didn't have that many possessions and I just felt like pretty free. And that was what got me into, the minimalist stuff. When I moved out on my own, I couldn't keep all of these possessions that I'd, been building up over my life. And it just felt so good to kind of like not have all of this stuff feeling held down by it, because having things would make me feel kind of tied down to having all these things. And that's also why, like, whenever I buy things, I don't have a lot of like nice things. Almost everything that I have, I've got some nice things, but like almost everything is kind of like, I wouldn't care if something happened to it, because I live in an area where tornadoes happen sometimes. And so like I just did a bunch of work on my home. I've been slowly like doing some work on this place to renovate it, and I just spent like not a lot of money, but a few $100s, couple $100s, and a lot of time to paint the living room. And a part of me is like, what if I just spent all this time doing this and then a tornado comes and just like blows the house down? And I think like if I had a bunch of nice things in here that could get like destroyed or whatever, I would feel more stress about stuff like that. But I don't know. Anyway, let's see what else I wrote. But yeah, when I first moved in, I was kind of just stressed about having this house and all this stuff and everything. I said, as dumb as it is to say, I think a large amount of stress and anxiety. Yeah, okay. I did have a lot of stress and anxiety, like in, I don't know if it was 2020 or if it was 2021. I think it was like across both years. It came from being trapped into my training contract at my gym. And yeah, like I was feeling so stressed about, like, I don't ever want to sign another gym contract again. I don't ever want to sign any sort of contract. Like, if I come across a business and if it's something that I want to use, if they like make you sign like a long-term contract, and especially one that like auto renews, like I don't want it. I will refuse. So this had happened to me at a tanning place once. Like there's this tanning place where I went to school, and there was one of them that I had used and loved it. You would just pay for a pack and it would be like 10 tans and you could just come in and use it whenever you want. They didn't expire. And then that place like moved or something, and there was this other place that was close, and they made you like sign like a joining fee, and then like you had like this monthly, it was like unlimited, but it was like a monthly price. And I was like, well, okay, I'll tan if I tan like 2 or 3 times. Like I don't even think they gave you the option to buy individual tans, or I don't know. Anyway, like there was some way like you had to like sign up for this contract thing. And then they made it so hard to get out of it. Like when I wanted to cancel it, they were like, well, you can't cancel it here. You have to go to this other place. And I was like, what? I signed up for it here. Like, why can't I cancel it here? And that just like, I hate that. And then I signed up to this gym, you know, during like after the gyms opened at COVID, and you know, I just wanted to get out of the house and I wanted to try to get healthier, kind of like I talked about yesterday. And you know, this gym was very heavy on sales, and like you get in there and they won't just let you like, here's how much it costs, sign up. They like make you talk about your goals and like, here's our packages, and then they want you to talk to like the training manager, and they're just heavy sales. And with me, with my personality, like I don't like to deal with people. I don't like to be sold, because I do feel that pressure. And like that's what these sales, like any sales job goes on, is like them pressuring you into buying something. And I just think that's wrong. Like, why do you want people to buy something that they're not gonna like, that's not a good service, but you just want to make that sale? And I mean, I know that's how like businesses work, but I don't like it. I don't like being like heavily sold to. But anyway, like I got roped into like paying for these group training sessions. And at first it was fine because I was going, but then I just started feeling this burden of it, of like, well, if I don't go to at least 3 of them a week, then I'm paying all this money for nothing. And then I would feel this stress of like feeling like I had to go, and then everything just got too busy to where I couldn't go anymore. But I'm like, oh my God, I look back at my contract and they're like, it's a 1-year contract and I can't just like cancel it. I've got to like pay out the contract or whatever. And I was feeling like so much stress. I'm feeling so stupid for like signing up for it and not just putting my foot down and being like, no. But anyway, like I finally canceled it, but they don't make it easy. And anyway, yeah, I guess maybe at this time I was feeling a lot of stress about it. Oh, anyway, I wrote about it, I guess. I said I was too timid to try to end it, but it was expensive, so I wanted to get my money's worth and stressed about going to classes. I said a similar situation happened with signing up for bodybuilding training, and also with volunteering with like this garden group, and previously with this other like local farm that I'd signed up to volunteer with. So yeah, like feeling like committed to things. Like with jobs it's different, but like with things like that, and with jobs, like I don't think I've ever signed up for, yeah, like thinking about it, I've never signed up for a job that's been like a long-term like job where I felt like I had to stick with it like for an extended period of time. So like when I was younger, my first job was as a student worker, so that job was going to end when I graduated. Like I could either get another job at this place or just not work there anymore because my student working contract was up. And then I was a server, so those are, you know, people come and go with serving jobs. And then even with this job right now, so then I worked as like a research assistant. So when I graduate, that job's done. And then I got hired onto this job, but it's kind of like a year-to-year contract sort of thing. So I think within a year I could, you know, quit or move on. And with academia, it is a lot of like that sort of thing, like people come in and out of jobs. And so, yeah, even with my jobs, I've done like work, like whenever I'm there, I'm like a good worker, but I think I haven't felt too much of that stress with jobs because I knew I could always like transition out of them pretty easily. But yeah, like I'd signed up for this bodybuilding thing and it just wasn't what I wasn't ready for it. And then I was like stuck in this contract, and then I was like felt the stress that I, you know, to cancel it. And so yeah, I do have a fear of being tied down is what all of this is to say. And I said I often get fired up about something and yeah. So like with some of this stuff, like I'll get fired up, I'll be in the moment, I'll be like, yes, this is what I want. And a part of me is like, okay, well, if I make a commitment, then that's going to keep me going with it. And yeah, hoping that like making a commitment, like a contract or something like that, will keep me motivated. But then I just end up feeling like burdened and stressed by it. So I know myself well enough to like not get myself committed to things, or at least if I am, like make sure that like it's like a limited commitment, to where if I can see the end, then I won't be as stressed about it. But yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like now that I understand it, now that I understand how I work and how I feel with things like that, I know what to do and what to avoid, and, you know, be upfront about things if I am gonna like sign up for them. Oh my gosh. Hello, sir. But anyway, I think my cat is hungry, so I guess I'll just call it there for this, and I will be back tomorrow with day 141.